You know, when you're just standing in line for coffee, right? And a stranger steps up next to you and you just instantly feel exhausted.
Oh, yeah. The bad vibe.
Exactly, the bad vibe. We completely brush it off as, just intuition or like maybe we're just reading their grumpy body
Right.
language. But what if that vibe isn't just a fleeting feeling? What if you are literally measuring the actual acoustic frequency of their soul?
Which sounds completely wild when you first hear it.
It really does.
Yeah.
But today's deep dive is venturing into this profoundly fascinating spiritual framework. It's from an essay by Su Feng, dated August 2024, and it's titled Eight Pathways to Elevating Life Frequency.
Yeah, and our mission here today is to really unpack this, to map out these energy levels, understand the actual mechanics of consciousness according to this text, and see if we can practically upgrade our own life frequency.
Right, without having to like pack up and retreat to a monastery for 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to understand the mechanics of all this, we kind of have to establish the text's baseline definition of life itself. Okay, lay it on me.
So the author posits that the core factor of any life form is its soul. And the soul is fundamentally consciousness.
Okay.
Therefore, what we experience as a life frequency, that vibe you mentioned, is just the measurable vibration of our consciousness.
I love that because it takes this really abstract, mystical idea of a soul and just grounds it in physics. Like it's a literal vibration.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we're vibrating, we need to know the scale we're being measured against, right? Like,
Yeah.
where do everyday people actually sit on this grand cosmic dial?
Well, the author grounds this concept using something called David R. Hawkins' map of consciousness.
Right, Hawkins.
Yeah, he was a psychiatrist who developed this logarithmic scale to measure the energy of human emotions and states of awareness.
Okay.
And the essay takes this concept and applies it to a universal hierarchy. So at the absolute peak of the scale, operating at an energy level in the hundreds of millions, is the universe's greatest creator, God.
Hundreds of millions. I mean, that is a massive number. It is. And then just below that, operating in the tens of thousands, are gods, plural.
Okay, tens of thousands.
Then the scale drops down to angels, immortals, and Buddhas, and they operate in the thousands.
Which brings us down to humans, I assume. Where do we actually land on this map?
So humans generally operate in the hundreds.
Just the hundreds.
Yeah, just the hundreds. And below us are animals, vibrating in the tens. And finally, plants, whose energy level sits in the single digits.
So it's kind of like, think of it less like a hierarchy of importance and more like cosmic Wi-Fi.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. Like a plant is basically on dial-up.
Yeah, just a slow connection.
Animals are maybe on 3G, vibrating a bit faster. Humans are on broadband, humming along in the hundreds. But the creator of the universe is on some impossible, ultra-fast fiber optic network that would just, I don't know, shatter glass if it were a sound we could hear.
That acoustic metaphor actually explains a really crucial caveat the author includes early on. Yeah, this frequency measurement only applies to conscious life. It fundamentally does not involve non-living matter.
Got it.
So like a quartz crystal, a mountain, or even a highly advanced supercomputer, they do not register on this scale.
Because they don't have a soul.
Exactly. They have zero life frequency because they lack that conscious soul.
Okay, so humans are humming along in the hundreds, but the essay isn't just an encyclopedia of, where things sit. It's practically an instruction manual for leveling up.
It really is.
So what is the actual goal here?
The immediate goal is entering what the author calls initial heaven life.
Initial heaven, okay.
And there's a strict numerical threshold to get in. Your consciousness must vibrate at a minimum of 500 hertz.
500.
Yeah. And if your goal is the mid-level heaven sequence, you need 600 hertz or above. The high-level heaven sequence requires 1,000 hertz or above.
Wait, hold on. If the average person is humming along at, say, 150 hertz on a Tuesday morning while they're stuck in traffic, 500 hertz feels completely out of reach. That isn't just a small improvement. That is a massive structural leap in how a person exists.
It's a huge jump.
So how does someone living a normal, stressful life actually bridge like a 350 hertz gap?
Well, the author acknowledges that massive gap. The entire core of the essay is a roadmap of 8 specific pathways designed to help a person elevate their vibration to hit that exact 500 hertz baseline.
Yeah, and as I read through these 8 pathways to heaven, they kind of naturally group themselves into specific mechanisms of action, at least in my head.
Sure. How did you break them down?
Well, the first mechanism is all about releasing drag. So pathway 1 is having a mind with no hindrances or attachments.
Right.
Pathway 2 is a mind with no resentment, and pathway 3 is a mind with no arrogance and no fear.
And to stick with your acoustic metaphor earlier, holding on to resentment or fear is like pressing your palm against a vibrating guitar string.
Oh, wow.
Right, it dampens the frequency, it completely mutes the sound.
Because you're actively stopping the vibration.
Exactly. Resentment requires continuous, active, energetic investment to maintain. You have to constantly feed it.
You do. It's exhausting.
So by releasing resentment and fear, you aren't actually adding anything new to your life. You are simply taking your hand off the string so it can naturally vibrate faster and clearer.
That makes perfect sense. The frequency rises not by force, but by the removal of friction.
Exactly.
But then we hit the second mechanism, which I'd call the pathway of freedom.
Okay?
This is pathway 4, which is breaking through life's gravity, which the text defines as having no debts and no worldly ties.
Right, the tricky one.
Yeah, because how am I supposed to practically interpret this? I mean, most people listening have a 30-year mortgage or student loans or, young children to care for.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to just walk away from our families and default on our loans to reach 500 hertz?
No, not at all. And this is exactly where esoteric texts require really careful application to modern life.
Okay, good, because I was worried for a second.
Right. Breaking through life's gravity isn't about the physical abandonment of responsibilities. It's about your internal sovereignty.
Internal sovereignty. What does that look like?
It means it is entirely possible to pay a mortgage without letting the anxiety of that debt consume your consciousness. You can be deeply devoted to your children without creating toxic, ego-driven attachments that define your entire spiritual worth.
So the gravity isn't the mortgage itself?
No.
The gravity is the terror of losing the house.
Exactly. The gravity is the psychological weight you attach to the worldly tie.
Right.
If you lose the house, it is a logistical problem, not a spiritual death. Maintaining that internal detachment allows your frequency to remain buoyant, regardless of the external economic or familial circumstances.
So you're navigating the world without letting the world's gravity pull your soul into the mud.
Beautifully put, yes.
Which leads to the third mechanism, the pathways of joy, which covers pathways 5 and 6. Pathway 5 is maintaining daily joy and happiness. And pathway 6 is being optimistic, romantic, and interesting. I mean, I find it fascinating that being interesting is a prerequisite for reaching heaven.
It's so unique, isn't it? It reframes spiritual elevation entirely.
Totally.
Because we often associate high-level spiritual growth with severe asceticism.
Yeah.
Suffering, solemnity, staring at a blank wall for decades.
Yeah, drinking unflavored broth and never smiling.
Right. But this framework argues the exact opposite. Joy, romance, and curiosity are inherently high-frequency states.
Wow.
Being interesting implies you are actively engaged with the wonder of the universe. You are resonating with life, not withdrawing from it.
So you aren't suffering your way to enlightenment. You are enjoying your way there.
Exactly.
That is so refreshing. And then finally, we have the pathways of flow, which are pathways 7 and 8. Pathway 7 is being formless and inactive, which the text clarifies as adapting to circumstances, changing with destiny, and acting according to nature and opportunity.
Yeah, this is basically the principle of non-resistance.
Yep.
Instead of constantly fighting against the current of reality, which, again, creates friction and dampens your frequency, you learn to surf the current. You become responsive rather than reactive.
And the final one, pathway 8, kind of acts as a guiding rail. It's maintaining a sense of awe and reverence while following one's heart without crossing boundaries.
Right.
So achieving all 8 of these pathways, removing the dampening effects of fear, detaching from life's gravity, living joyfully and flowing with nature that guarantees your guitar string is vibrating at 500 hertz.
You've hit the baseline.
You are officially in the initial heaven sequence.
It is a profound shift in baseline consciousness. But, as the text outlines, 500 hertz only gets you in the door.
Oh, right.
The ultimate challenge is reaching the high-level heaven sequence, which demands a frequency of 1,000 hertz or above.
Right. And to reach the thousands, being joyful and going with the flow just isn't enough, is it?
No, it's not.
The author claims you have to achieve this seemingly impossible, paradoxical state, having nothing yet possessing everything. I mean, how does a human mind even process a paradox like that?
Well, the short answer is you can't. Not with your current mind.
Wait, really?
Really. The author explicitly states that to reach this level, you must build a spiritual garden and undergo a sequential, step-by-step upgrade of your very way of thinking.
Oh, wow.
You have to change the fundamental mechanism of how your consciousness processes reality. The text outlines 8 specific stages of thinking you must evolve through.
Okay, let's definitely break these down because this feels like the heavy lifting of the essay.
It is.
It's almost like upgrading a computer's operating system layer by layer until the clunky hardware just disappears entirely.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
So stage 1 is material thinking.
Okay.
Material thinking is the baseline human operating system. You are bound by what you can physically touch, see, and measure.
Give me an example.
So if you are looking at a spreadsheet at work, material thinking says these are numbers on a screen dictating our budget. It is entirely literal.
Got it. Just the cold, hard facts in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to upgrade, you move to stage 2, which is image thinking.
Image thinking.
Yeah. This is the birth of the internal world. You begin to visualize concepts that aren't physically present in front of you.
Okay.
So you look at that same spreadsheet, but now you can mentally picture the warehouse of goods it represents or the physical actions of the employees. You are no longer bound by the immediate physical object.
Right, you're seeing the reality behind the numbers. Then stage 3 is associative thinking. I imagine this is where creativity really starts to fire up.
Correct. Associative thinking connects disparate images and concepts.
Okay.
You see the spreadsheet, you picture the warehouse, and suddenly you associate it with, say, global supply chain trends you read about, or seasonal weather patterns. You're building webs of meaning across different domains of reality.
You're zooming out.
Exactly.
Then we hit stage 4, and the terminology gets pretty wild here. It's called illusory or psychedelic thinking.
Yeah, that one trips people up.
What does that actually mean in a practical sense? Because we aren't talking about hallucinogens, right?
No, not at all. We were talking about the plasticity of reality.
Okay, unpack that.
In this stage, you realize that the rigid constructs of your life, your job title, the economy, societal expectations, they're largely illusions created by human consensus.
Oh, wow.
You start seeing past the rigid borders of things. The spreadsheet isn't an absolute truth. It's just one arbitrary, malleable way humans have chosen to organize energy.
You realize all the rules are made up.
Pretty much.
That's a huge shift. And that unlocks stage 5, mental image thinking.
Yes. And at this stage, you can construct, manipulate, and hold entirely new, complex paradigms purely in your mind without needing any physical reference.
Meaning what? Exactly.
Meaning you aren't just associating existing things anymore. You are designing new architectures of reality internally.
Like true visionary stuff.
Precisely.
Okay, stage 6 is Tai Chi thinking. Now, Tai Chi implies balance, right? Yin and yang.
Yes, it is the ability to hold paradoxes without cognitive dissonance.
Oh, that's hard.
It is. You can hold two opposing truths simultaneously. You understand that the spreadsheet absolutely matters for feeding your family, and on a cosmic level, it absolutely doesn't matter at all.
And both are completely true.
Both are completely true. You stop swinging between extremes, and you find the dynamic center.
That is profound. Okay, stage 7 is formless thinking. Now, if we were already holding paradoxes, what does formless even look like?
Complete detachment from structured thought.
Complete detachment.
Yeah, you move through your day, making decisions and acting, but you are no longer relying on rigid categorizations or predefined mental models. You are operating on pure, unmediated intuition.
Just reacting in the moment.
Exactly. You react to the present moment exactly as it is without projecting past experiences or future anxieties onto it.
Wow. Which brings us to the absolute peak. Stage 8, chaotic or primordial thinking.
The 1000 Hertz state.
Yeah, and I really struggled with this term when I was prepping, because to most people, chaos implies a mess. It sounds like the system crashed. Why is chaotic thinking considered the ultimate high heaven ideal?
Yeah, the translation of chaos here really does not mean confusion or disorder.
Okay.
It refers to the primordial soup before the universe was structured. It is pure, unbound, unconditioned potential.
Ah.
The author defines this stage as being completely selfless, completely egoless, and entirely unattached.
But practically speaking, how does a normal person at a desk job utilize primordial thinking?
By doing the task without any trace of the ego's attachment to the outcome.
Okay.
You write the email, you analyze the data, but there is no I suffering through it. There's no I seeking validation from the boss, no I fearing termination.
The action just simply happens through you.
Yes, you are not your job, your body, or your thoughts. You are the boundless space in which those things occur.
Wow.
And when the ego completely dissolves, the friction drops to absolute zero. Your frequency spikes into the thousands.
Because there's no drag.
Exactly. You have nothing. No ego, no attachments.
Yeah.
Yet you possess everything. because you are one with the entirety of the cosmic frequency.
That is just a staggering mental evolution. But, here's the thing that makes this essay so compelling to me. All of these levels, the 500 hertz threshold, the dampening effect of resentment, the 8 stages of mental evolution, it sounds highly theoretical.
Right.
But the author insists this is an incredibly practical, everyday tool for you to use.
Yes, he argues that a person's life frequency is entirely palpable. It is not hidden at all.
Which goes right back to our opening thought, right? About feeling a stranger's vibe at the coffee shop.
Exactly.
The author says that just by interacting with someone, just by exchanging a few simple words, you can accurately determine the vibration amplitude of their life frequency. You can literally hear the acoustic resonance of their soul.
And this is where the implications become really heavy. Because by taking this internal reading, by referencing that scale from the tens up to the thousands during just a brief conversation, you aren't just figuring out if someone is having a good or bad day.
Right.
You are diagnosing their actual spiritual trajectory.
Wait, so I'm not just sensing their mood, I'm sensing where they are headed on the cosmic map?
According to the text, yes.
That is wild.
You can determine their ultimate developmental direction. You can sense whether their consciousness is elevating toward the heaven sequence, whether they are destined for the hell sequence, if they will remain stagnant in the human realm, or, and this is most alarming, if their frequency is dropping so low that they are devolving back into the animal kingdom of the tens.
Unbelievable. You can sense if someone is operating on purely animalistic, reactive, fear-based instincts, just from a quick chat.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes you hyper-aware of your own acoustic output too, doesn't it?
It really should.
If everyone's frequency is this exposed, this readable, it forces a rigorous self-inventory. Like, what kind of frequency am I broadcasting today? Am I emitting the dampening, heavy hum of resentment or the buoyant, clear ring of joy?
It completely shifts the construction of your spiritual garden from a distant, philosophical hobby into an urgent daily necessity. Every interaction is an exchange of frequency.
Okay, let's just recap the terrain we've covered here because it's a lot.
It's a journey.
We started by redefining consciousness as a literal, measurable acoustic frequency. We saw that humans sit in the hundreds, but the entry ticket to the initial heaven sequence requires a clear, undampened vibration of 500 hertz.
Right.
And to bridge that gap, we use the 8 pathways, taking our hand off the guitar string by releasing resentment, maintaining internal sovereignty over our worldly debts, and actively engaging in romantic, interesting joy.
And flowing with nature.
Right, flowing with nature. And if we want the ultimate upgrade to the thousands, we have to evolve our operating system through those 8 stages of thinking, moving from literal material attachment to pure, egoless, primordial potential.
It is a breathtakingly comprehensive map of how consciousness evolves.
It really is. But as always, we want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over, like a practical application of this framework to your immediate reality.
And for that, we need to look closely at that early caveat from the text.
Oh, the non-living matter thing.
Yes, the author explicitly states that this frequency scale only applies to conscious life. Non-living matter does not possess a life frequency. It vibrates at absolute zero on the Hawkins map.
Right. A rock has no vibe. A quartz crystal has no consciousness.
But look at the modern landscape. Look at your daily routine.
Right.
You are likely spending 8, 10, maybe 12 hours a day interacting with incredibly smart, highly sophisticated, but totally non-living technology.
Oh, wow. Social media algorithm?
Generative artificial intelligence. Automated customer service system.
Yeah.
They mimic human interaction brilliantly. But according to this specific spiritual framework, the entity you are communicating with has a life frequency of literally 0.
0. Wow. So if every interaction is an exchange of frequency, what happens when you spend half your waking life engaged in a one-way exchange with a 0 hertz entity?
Exactly. Does spending your time communicating with algorithms act like an acoustic vacuum, just silently absorbing your frequency and pulling you down toward the single digits?
That is a terrifying thought.
Or does the coldness of that interaction force you to work twice as hard to cultivate your own internal spiritual garden? Does it force you to generate your own awe, your own romance, and your own joy just to maintain that 500 hertz baseline?
That's the question, isn't it? So the next time you feel a vibe, whether it's the barista handing you a coffee or the glowing screen resting in the palm of your hand, remember you aren't just feeling a mood or absorbing data. You are reading an acoustic frequency.
A literal vibration.
And more importantly, you are constantly deciding what frequency you're going to tune yourself to in response.